Huge task for both of these teams to get back on track before conference play next week. Starting things off is Trinity Caruthers. Caruthers hammers that one in the net. You saw a deep breath, maybe some jitters here inside the women's building.
It's a great crowd once again for Syracuse, and pressure for both teams as you see their records at the bottom of your screen to get a win. Every point matters. Another
impact freshman for Syracuse, Zaria Harris-Waddy in the middle. She's a great server in her own right, had 6 service aces in their lone win this season against Cornell. That one goes over, and the passing game is also a huge point of emphasis for Syracuse.
Especially because right now they have a lot of players playing in spots that they usually don't find themselves in. So passing and extending sets has been an issue.
Syracuse in their white jerseys had their new navy blue cutoffs yesterday. Those were a fan favorite. Passing still an issue, but a 3-ball attempt to get it over. Hammered at the net, Lauren McCabe. She's been impressive in her first year in a Syracuse uniform.
She's got the size, right, to get it done. I mean, it jumps out at 6'3", and when you've got the ability to get vertical and whack that right palm right down the planet Earth, you have the emotion right there.
Transfer from Seattle, great 4-year career there, and now one of the leaders in a young program. It's off the antenna, so point now leads the team with 21 service aces so far this year. Also leads the team in service errors as she just had her 20th on the campaign.
I do like the energy that the Syracuse team has come out with. I know it hasn't been the cleanest start for this team, but the energy that they have, there's so much positivity despite the record.
Another freshman on the service line for Syracuse. Good court awareness there for Syracuse, and that's going to be something that they need to continue to do. Most times in that back row, they've played those 50-50 balls. Sears second serve. Quick set in the middle, back set, far side, and we highlighted her in the open. Billingsley with her first kill now.
That was really well executed by the Bears with the 2 on the far side of a court, both going up to stab at that one. But Billingsley obviously leads the team in kills, and she's the one who rightfully sent it the other way.
Jada Williams sends it over. Carolina Mueller, the one-hand tip. Set far side, and that was a nifty little play there from the Bears. This is Jackson, almost that 1B option to Billingsley in the offense for the Bears.
Oh, she got so much praise before the game from Xiomara Ortiz. She said that we have to get the ball to her.
Coming one of the go-to options in the front row. Schlickner is stuffed. We'll try it again, and it's going to be a net violation. Point Syracuse.
So much size between Billingsley and Jackson on the far side of a court. They do their job, but maybe a little too well there. That was a clear violation touching the net from Billingsley.
Greta Schlichter playing out of position, a natural, as she was just going to serve that, but nobody else on her team was ready to go. They were clearing up a wet spot on the floor. But Schlichter starting to actually have to hit just due to the personnel and not many players being available right now for Syracuse. But she was very efficient yesterday against Iowa. 9 kills for a hitting percentage of 152. Back set again to Billingsley. Powers it home through the double block.
She's got so much raw talent, right? Began her career at USC Upstate, didn't play due to an injury, has found a home.
It was before the game that they're a team that likes to get a little rowdy and has a great culture.
You have to. I mean, this is a team on the rise, right? Morgan State already has more wins this season than they had all of last year. Things are going better, and they feel it.
Had their first winning streak earlier in non-conference play since 2021 when they beat Dartmouth and Fairleigh Dickinson. Near side, dug out by Burke. Sending it to Jo Bear. First time we've mentioned her name, and she's stuffed in the middle.
Well, obviously, Morgan State has done its scouting on Syracuse. And Jo Bear was doing dominant things against Iowa last night, but you see how the 2 for Morgan State just know where they're going and know how to block it up with the double team.
Justice Jackson is the lone Bear to get fingertips on it. Jo Bear, they'll try again. Syracuse responds. This is a blocking display right now by the Bears, but Jobert gets the better of Morgan State that time.
Jobert is putting the team on her back right now. Syracuse, without a lot of true outside hitters available right now, is running everything through the sophomore.
Had 10 kills, 9 errors, and 25 attempts yesterday. It looks like she's going to be fed a whole lot for the Orange. Quick set in the middle, some nifty moves on the Morgan State side.
That was clean from Maya Carrick. Not a lot of power, but just the finesse. And Syracuse with just a huge opening in the middle of the court.
And it's also that deception of having your middle come up and act like she's going to have the quick set to spike it home. Instead, caught Syracuse lacking. Quick set in the middle. Harris Waddy, oh my. Syracuse, Ian, they're coming out and swinging with some force.
And they have to, especially because the front line of the Bears is dominating right now, and they seem to be in really unison. So Harris Waddy shows off her raw power to power it past him.
Now it's Jobert back to serve, just a tad long past the end line. So siding out are the Bears as they have a comfortable 2-point lead right now and getting some substitutions into the ballgame.
You know, we talked to Coach Bakir Ganesharatnam earlier in the week, and he said, I'm all right with those service errors if we're showing the power and we're getting the aces as a result, so they like to take risks.
It's all about that ratio. If it's still getting a high volume of service aces, you can live with those mistakes. Schlickner only standing at 5'6", but she can jump with the best of them, and Syracuse gets the ball right back.
Height doesn't measure the heart of the freshman from Germany, playing alongside Mira Liedermuller, who both played on the German national team and were some of the best young players Germany had to offer.
All the way back to the beginning of the rotation for Syracuse. Harris Waddy after her kill just a moment ago. First set to Schlickner, and oh man, they were finding something pretty impressive over there on the opposite side. Coach Ganesharatnam, maybe you have to keep her at a hitting position once everybody comes back.
Well, he really liked his roster when it was healthy, so we'll see. This is an opportunity for all these freshmen to prove what they can do.
Now all tied up at 9. Off the top of the tape, and it falls. Has the team lead in service aces already, adding to her total.
And it's not necessarily the power, just a bit of luck, right? Like you said, it's just off the tape, and it's so hard to judge where the ball's going to go after that.
So Syracuse, their first ace of the day, and now with the lead. Set near side, Billingsley dug out by Harris Waddy in the back row, but go past the sideline. So a nice job to be in the right place at the right time, but not traditionally a 6 rotation type player, Harris Waddy in the back row.
The freshman getting her first taste of college volleyball has been asked to do a lot of different things and has been very solid given the circumstances.
Mara Fernandez. Serve receive. Dug out on the Morgan State side. Another block by Lauren McCabe. She has been very impressive with the roof in the middle.
She had already twice as many blocks as anybody on this Syracuse team headed into tonight. Just 2 on the near side of a court for Syracuse who get it done.
That's something to keep your eyes on, is the blocking battle between both of these programs. Morgan State, very good blocking team so far in the MEAC, and Lauren McCabe came over in time, but it looked like her hands just weren't set together. Billingsley hammered it right through.
That's what happens when you have some inexperience, some players, you know, McCabe joining this team from Seattle, getting accustomed to playing with each other.
Williams. Schlickner again, roll shot. It's dug out. Trying to go 5 for 5. First time that we haven't seen a kill registered by Billingsley on attack attempt. Long volley now for the back row, Searzant. Play resumes. And it's stuffed again. Lauren McCabe and Mira Liedermuller now on the block for the Cubes.
That was easily the most impressive rally we've seen between these two teams early on today. Dinks off the right arm of Liedermuller. Right place, right time, and Syracuse starting to execute more on that front line.
Timing has been exquisite on the front row for Syracuse, regardless of who's on the block. Schlickner now back to serve. Had some late movement on that. is there. Jump set. Jobert, it falls. Syracuse, you can feel maybe it's from the fans or even just from the players on the court, but they're starting to brew a little bit of confidence.
This atmosphere is starting to get an uptick. You were here last night, right? When Iowa gave Syracuse everything they had. This is kind of how it felt last night. Syracuse playing with a lot of emotion right now. The floor continues to stay a little wet, which is kind of halting the momentum, but Syracuse needs to capitalize on it and build a 2-point lead into a 4 or 5-point lead here in set number 1.
Syracuse on the season is hitting right around 10%. Right now, they're at 25, so a huge boost in their offensive production. Victor again. Quick set. No dice. I don't even think that was going to get over, and that's the beauty of when you're blocking so well, is that is also now in the minds of the offensive players.
It's the freshman right there, right? Biko Holly, and now a timeout is needed because they got to figure their stuff out.
So we're going to take a quick break.
Play out this season as well, with Syracuse playing not only Morgan State, but Delaware State early on in the year.
A great thing for Syracuse is over the next 10 years, they want to play over 50 games in many different sports. We'll talk about that a little bit later and throughout the rest of this match. As coming out of the timeout, Morgan State with a big kill in the middle that time by Justice Jackson.
It's no surprise, right? This is a very talented player, one of the 2 core seniors on this Bears team who have really taken their game to another level as MSU has started to find success over the last couple weeks.
Nia Carrick, first time we've mentioned her on the service line. 5 kills and 6 attacks in just 2 sets, so they want to get her involved a little bit more. About getting Jobert involved in the offense, as now she's tied for a team-high 3 kills.
She's going to continue to attack this front line from Morgan State, and it's not going to be perfect every single time, but she's keeping the Syracuse offense in it.
Filling that void on the pins, we still have not seen Charlene Antonio, and I was told before the game that she was not injured or anything yesterday. It was just a coach's decision for her not to play. How about another block? It's a block party here in the 3-1-5.
Defense is going to win you games when you have players like Antonio not in the lineup for one reason or another, because you can always rely upon good timing and good effort on the front line with the blocks.
Melissa Burt, Syracuse libero in her 2nd season with the program, transferring in from Colorado State. They'll give the ball right back. Siding out is going to be a huge thing for both of these programs, as that was crucial for Syracuse late against Iowa. Just so many self-inflicted wounds of those service errors when they really needed points.
A young team making mental errors, but they're a grad student.
It was Page. Set over to Harris Waddy. Got to give her a heat check now.
Syracuse doesn't want to give her a heat check. They're going to let her continue to do what she does. Just got a great run up on that ball, right? Sneaking from behind, middle of the court. Great momentum, and usually when you have a little momentum, good things are going to happen.
Great play design by head coach Bakir Ganesharatno. To the far side, blocked again. Oh my.
Really impressive from Syracuse right now. We haven't seen this a lot all season when everything is just clicking on all cylinders, and there the defensive reaction from Jobert instead of maybe a slam.
We're gonna have a quick conversation between our up referee now talking things over, potentially if that ball was in or out. We have not seen a challenge called. There were a few for both teams yesterday. Still, that would be a 5-point lead for Syracuse, so that is a pretty good margin on the Morgan State side. If you can get a point right now and try to halt some of that Syracuse momentum, you'd love to do so.
I think regardless of what happens, and you can hear cheering from the Bears side of things, so it seems like Morgan State the beneficiary.
It must have been maybe a blocking error by Jobert. We never heard what the reasoning was, why the call was overturned. Nevertheless, this is Sampson. Libero for Morgan State. The jump float. Bump set. Searzan. Dug out well. 50-50 ball by the net. Somehow keeping it on their side. And Jobert, after her error, responds with a block.
That is so huge for Syracuse. Momentum could have easily shifted in the way of Morgan State, but the one-woman wrecking crew that is Ariana Jobert will not be denied in this game, and Syracuse already with 4 blocks.
Impressive stuff on the Syracuse side. Lena Brooking into serve after playing all 3 sets yesterday. And she finds herself with an ace. Second of the day for Syracuse.
Everybody contributing for the Cuse right now. And when you don't have a lot of depth, you need everybody to make an impact.
Syracuse on the season averaging 1.4 service aces per set, so over that average, and they'd like to continue to do so. Dug out by Burke. Near side, Searzan stuck up again. So both of these teams having defensive prowess, it's making things much more difficult on the attack.
Morgan State is not going to go away in this first set. They didn't go away last night on the road in Ithaca when they fell to the Big Red in set number 1, but it was a battle, 34-32. And you see it, it's the second-year head coach, Xiomara Ortiz, that has this team fighting for everything, regardless of the scoring margin.
Syracuse on the season has not really been known as a great blocking team. Only 1.3%. Morgan State, however, 2.2. So it makes sense why they're starting to rack up some blocks. Push over, Brooking with the dig. Quick inside, Zaria Harris. Over the top of Liedermuller, and it falls. It's always an interesting spot in the back row if you want to hit that ball over your head, decides not to, and it's a point for Morgan State.
Again, another one of the longer rallies we've seen in this first set.
Looks like we're going to have a challenge on the Syracuse side. The ruling of that ball being in or out, call on the floor, was a kill for Morgan State. So head coach Bakir Ganesharatnam trying to wave the challenge flag.
I like this challenge from Coach Bake, to be honest. I didn't get an unbelievable view, but it did seem like that ball was headed out, and it didn't seem like it deflected off a Syracuse player. We're going to get another look here, and we haven't seen it drop yet, but it just scrapes that white line.
So that's, again, a difficult angle because do we see some blue there, or is it just straight white?
Nothing like a blue and white ball hitting the blue and white line.
Right.
2 teams known for wearing the blue and orange. Just a lot of things that make this call tough to overturn.
Yeah, that's going to be really difficult. Now we'll take a look on our overhead view, and for Liedermuller, I think she had the right decision to see if that ball was going to go in or out, because that would have been a very difficult play for her to dig it out.
You have to give her a lot of credit, right? As a freshman who has not even played, this is her now 10th game of college volleyball, to hesitate and to understand the situation and the trajectory of the ball that's moving oh so fast. Not an easy decision to make, and ultimately this review will see if it was a good decision or not.
Probably also talked about in the timeouts for Syracuse that Morgan State, they've been racking up errors so far today, 9 kills to 7 errors. So that could also be something too, that they're trying to pick apart the defense and go for the corners. Maybe Syracuse is saying, hey, until they prove it to us, maybe we'll let it slide. We believe that will be a call on the floor in just a second. And after looking it over, call stands. Point for the Bears.
And ultimately, just not enough evidence to overturn that. The ball doesn't get a whole lot of a white line, but that's the thing, it doesn't need to.
Right. Not enough conclusive evidence, as we always hear on NFL Sundays. Ruthers sending it over. Schlichter tied for a team high in kills before the break. Now a free ball attempt. We'll see if Morgan State can capitalize. Set near side, and they can. Anara Fernandez with the fastball.
Seemed like Syracuse tried to draw out that
conference play. You mostly don't see that, but a Big Ten program going on the road, you knew that sooner rather than later that they were going to come out and play their best volleyball. So it's a 2-point lead for Syracuse. Back to serve again, Trinity Caruthers, junior setter from Grand Prairie, Texas. Leading the team in assists so far this season. Blocked again, and that 2.2 blocks per set, Ian, is going to skyrocket if they have this production continue.
Now, one of the names we haven't talked much about today, Jada Williams, the freshman, another young team in Morgan State who came into the night second on this team in blocks, and she shows you why.
Trying to tie things up at 19. Williams again. Bump set by Liedermuller. Over to her German counterpart, and it works. How about Jade Schlichter? I'm just fascinated with her production offensively.
Again, she doesn't look the part, but when you've got chemistry with Mira Liedermuller and you've got confidence in your game, you're going to go very far.
Harris-Waddy sending it over. Look at the vertical on that play, and there's just no way that Melina Brook could hawk that one down.
But, you know, she's smiling because she understands there's nothing more she could have done there. The Gatorade bucket got that ball instead of her, but the effort, again, that this Syracuse team shows is impressive, although the lead is starting to slip.
Jada Williams picks up her first kill after 2 solo blocks, and nice job by 2 underclassmen in the back row talking that entire time. Great communication to make sure that it was going to be a service error for Morgan State.
If Syracuse is going to gain opportunities and get 3 points, you have to accept them. You can't be trigger happy.
Here's Ant, the freshman from Savannah, Georgia, and hammered again. Second time in the first set. We've seen Lauren McCabe on a 50-50 ball make sure that it is not up for debate that Syracuse would get the point.
You know, you mentioned Savannah, the Bananas were in town, and this Lauren McCabe effort is crazy as how the Bananas play baseball. What an awesome spike.
There's a set near side, tip over, one-hand save, and nobody can get it on the second hit after the dive by Liedermuller.
That's what Syracuse needs to string together, right? When you have those moments of brilliance and you do have great individual efforts, that's great, but how do you follow it up, and how does a 2-point lead become a 3-point lead? That's what this young team, effort there or not, needs to learn.
2-point Syracuse lead. They have won just 3 sets all year long, all 3 of them coming against Cornell, a team that Morgan State lost to last night.
This is a Morgan State team, regardless of that loss, is competing in this because they've picked up some quality wins.
Williams serve. Back to Schlichter, oh man! With the bungees right there, jumping way up to get that one.
Definitely the most impressive effort we've seen. Again, just 2 of the tallest players on Morgan State staring her down, and she owned them right there, 5'6", and it does not matter.
She had no kills in 11 attempts earlier this week against Colgate, and something changed since then because she has been electric offensively. Jobert powering it through the double block, and Syracuse is now at set point.
And again, it's those 2 younger players, Jobert and Schlichter, who are setting the tone.
And Schlichter with the chance to put Syracuse up 1-0 in this match. With the knuckler. Morgan State sends it over with another chance after the push. Jobert. Back to Billingsley, and Billingsley, she's the heart and soul of this program and showing you that she's doing whatever she can to make sure that this match could potentially go to extra points.
Crafty from Syracuse, a little fake in the far side of a court. Jobert ends up hitting it with finesse instead of power. Does not pay off.
Billingsley has a game-high 6 kills for Morgan State. Nobody else has more than 2 for the Bears. Liedermuller over to Jobert, and Syracuse taking the 1-0 lead. Have to love starts and plays professionally in just a few months. Harris-Waddy starting things off again, just like she did in the first set. Almost the same result for Lauren McCabe. But let's take a look at Polina's accolades throughout her career, 5 years with the program with the Orange.
It's safe to say she is probably the best player in program history. And regardless of how long you've been here or not with this team, you respect that and you respect her opinion.
Three-time first-team All-ACC selection, and still is a huge part of the program practicing because she's preparing for in a few months when she goes down to Atlanta, Georgia, and is playing professionally. So she is that catalyst of how to do things the right way for the younger players. All tied at 1-1. Long run for Billingsley, no dice, and a service ace for another freshman, Veronica Sierzan.
Syracuse, not a strong start to the second set, but then rebounding with 2 quick points, showing you the poise this young team is gaining.
Shana very pleased after winning their 4th set all season long. One-hand bump by Carrick. Williams with the push. On the slide attempt. Syracuse still with a chance. More trickery for Morgan State. Now with the left hand from Jada Williams. It was a very odd point, Ian. Both teams were running around. It was like chickens with their head cut off, but still it's a point for the Bears.
Doesn't need to be pretty, right? Especially when both teams are still trying to figure out their offensive identity. You just have to buckle down and understand I need to get a touch here and get it over the net, and it might work out.
Williams has been very impressive on the service line, but also in the middle. Back set to Billingsley. Dug out easily by Burke. And another kill. So we've seen the power and now the finesse game of Greta Schlichter.
We knew about her finesse, right? Because that's the player she was advertised as being, but stepping into a different role because players like Layla Smith and Kara Zarnavetsky are not in the lineup right now, and she's taken on that role.
Schlichter hammers it into the net for her first service error of the day, but that production of 6 kills in 11 attempts from a 5'6" natural libero, man, they have something special in Schlichter.
And I'm sure her experience in this spot, even if she does end up moving back to libero, is going to pay dividends down the line.
Without a doubt. Lauren McCabe dots the back row, and Carpenter couldn't get to it in time, and Lauren McCabe also having a very impressive performance.
And McCabe's somebody who, unlike Schlichter, you expect to do that on a more routine basis with that 6'2" frame.
Now it's Alyssa Burke. Not in time. We were seeing Billingsley. She could have played it first, but wanted to be set. Near side, Jobert. Oh my. Took down Aaron Carpenter to all fours.
That was impressive to single-handedly send the player down to the hardwood. Again, it shows you the raw skill that Ariana Jobert has and what this team was missing for 2 weeks when she was sidelined.
Syracuse up 2. Make it 1 after service error by Alyssa Burke.
Neither team has found its footing so far in the second set. Both teams have showed you the upside, but you look at it, there's a reason why wins have been an issue for both squads. Service errors aplenty.
That is a huge point of emphasis to look out for the rest of the match. Quick set in the middle. Dug out well. Jobert getting it over the top, and a nice job recognizing, almost over pursuing on the double block and finding that soft spot over the top of the double block.
That was really slick, right? Because anybody can just wind up and hit it as hard as they can, but Jobert knows she can't do that every single time.
Here, Leader Mueller. Already racking up some assists, just like Burt with the digs. Jobert again. One hand, not enough on it, so another point for Syracuse.
Good individual effort from Aaron Carpenter, but ultimately the middle right now for MSU just seems a little out of sync. The timing is off.
And you can tell Justice Jackson, setter Maya Carrick in the front row, haven't gotten to their full potential. A great serve again, an extra effort by Alyssa Sampson, doesn't matter. It's Mira Leader-Mueller finding her groove on the service line, and we're gonna have a timeout on the floor for Morgan State.
They need to need to get things together.
So it's an 8-4 score. We'll take a quick break here on ACC Network with Syracuse and Morgan State. And Syracuse has this MEAC alliance that Morgan State is actually taking a part of here.
They are. This is the second MEAC team Syracuse has played this season. Lost to Delaware State earlier on in the year. And it's just a goal of these two programs to connect Syracuse University with an HBCU and help each other out however they can.
Griffin Della Penna here with Ian Nicholas. Coming right out of the break, Justice Jackson just put her hands up in the air. It doesn't get easier than that.
And sometimes you need that, especially off a timeout when you execute and you talk about it, and then it comes to fruition. That's just a good confidence boost for a team that is still down 3 points early in the second set.
Morgan State, coming off their loss last night, did have a win earlier in the week against a D3 opponent. Notre Dame of Maryland won in 3 sets. Also beaten a few Metro Atlantic Athletic Conference schools in Manhattan. Also played Rider earlier this year. Harris Waddy, no touch, point for the Bears.
Honestly, I thought the Bears' most impressive effort of the year was not in a win, but in a loss in 5 sets to Columbia, playing at the Lions campus. Showed you just how much this team wants it under its second-year head coach.
Yeah, Coach Xiomara Ortiz said that was one of the times where they felt like they really put everything together, even though it wasn't a winning result. Stuck up again. Another chance. Second time, well, it works out for Inara Fernandez, as going on a little run coming out of the break, now only down 1.
You do gotta love the effort, though, of Greta Schlichter, who does a cartwheel on the end line and comes up smiling. I gotta feel like that's a little painful, but she's embraced the role and she's embraced the pain.
1-2 option of Billingsley and Fernandez. And then crucial as that also goes past the end line. So right now for Syracuse, a little too aggressive on some of these attack attempts.
For a group especially that doesn't have the experience to know how to necessarily dominate with those powerful attempts, you got to reel it in.
Just make sure you find the bulk of the court instead of trying to find the corners. Well, they try to do it again there, and now these are more self-inflicted wounds. It looks like our line official said that there was a tip, even though it did go out. So still trying to look right now, and Coach Ganesh Ratnam be thinking about having a challenge?
0 for 1 so far, because there was a 50-50 play on the end line that went the way of Morgan State in the first set. Ultimately, it didn't come back to bite the orange. I really like how you sum that up, Griffin. Morgan State is taking the lead here in the second set, but the Bears haven't really been the ones doing the rallying. It's been Syracuse doing it for them.
So Coach Ganesh Ratnam decides, no, I'm going to hold on to my challenge, as you do get 1 per set, and then if you win your challenge successfully, you get it back. A great serve, diving attempt by Schlichter. Fernandez, that falls. So after letting Syracuse rack up errors, they do the same thing now, but now it's all about the attack of Fernandez. Beautiful play.
She's a really good player, right? Second on the team in kills, first in aces, headed into tonight, and those stats only continue to go up.
That one is short by Alyssa Sampson. So Syracuse really in need of a point. Now they're gonna have Brooking come in. Brooking did have a service ace back in the first set.
Haven't said the name of Zaria Harris-Waddy in a while, and with Jobert off the court, you'd like to see her get involved, maybe on a design play.
Brooking hammers it. Libero Sampson. Fernandez didn't get all of that one, and Fernandez, she is one of the more efficient players that Morgan State has so far this season. 171 on the year, but she set a whole lot, over 250 total attempts now. All tied up at 10. And the ball right back to Morgan State with the lead now 11-10.
Again, you Mentioned it earlier on in this broadcast. Coach Bake said, I'll live with those errors. It means we're getting aces as well, but Syracuse now with 5 already, and we're not even halfway through the second set.
We'd like to see them be a little bit more efficient. Harris-Waddy, the set. Hernandez being force-fed on the opposite side right now, and the Belo Horizonte Brazil native, she's finding her groove.
The two players we highlighted before, Michaela Billingsley and Jackson. We haven't said their names in a while, but they haven't been needed.
Maya Carrick, nice serve, but Syracuse still able to keep it up. Suzanne stuffed again in the middle. Morgan State after the bump set, tough position, and if you're Alyssa Sampson, you want to make sure that you're allowing an attacker to maybe get their feet underneath them, not so close to the net.
Just a little out of position right now, and that's totally understandable for a group that is missing arguably 4 starters that were slotted to start this season, and everybody's just a bit out of it.
Harris-Waddy. That one was extremely close, and our line judge maybe took a second to think about it, consider it, but he will say that it is a service error for Syracuse.
Just a really different second set than the first set right now. Neither team is played at its cleanest and giving each other points.
Well, back to serve, and neither team wants to take this and run with it. It's back and forth, but it's all about the errors between Morgan State and Syracuse.
And at this point, you just need to grab the momentum, be a little dynamic, maybe take a risk because the other team is making a mistake too.
Is that Billingsley? Oh my goodness. I wish I had a radar gun for that one, Ian, because that might have registered a very high number.
Yeah, I'm surprised there weren't flames following that ball as it lasered down towards no man's land and just untouchable.
That one is a dot by Jada Williams. Another service ace for Morgan State.
Now you're seeing a team that wants it, that's dancing, that's smiling, and has 2 of its more athletic players showcasing their abilities.
Jada Williams, a very fun player in the middle. Second on the team in blocks, but also great on the service line. You'll take that too. 1 point for 1. Still the same game as Morgan State's up 2.
Crafty play from Jobert. That ball was headed straight towards her. Would have hit her if she didn't duck out of the way and understand that it was going out.
It's Greta Schlichter. Very diverse game so far. 6 kills and 12 attempts. Roll shot. Lauren McCabe was there. Billingsley. I love how Morgan State, on some of these errors that they have, they're able to just smile it off and make sure that that is not going to affect them moving forward.
And even their head coach, Ortiz on the sideline is just, it's okay. She understands this team is going to make mistakes and work through the good and the bad.
It's all about the growing pains for 2 second-year head coaches trying to rebuild. And it's a fight till the end here in the second set.
Both coaches, I'm sure, are going to look back at this set and probably lose some sleep because, again, more mental mistakes and we're tied up.
Just heard our first chant from the crowd at the women's building here today. Roll shot over the top. Peter Mueller is there. Jobert runs into it. Quick set by Barrett. Billingsley again. No touch. Point Syracuse.
Syracuse hasn't played at home this year until this weekend, and I have to give a lot of credit to the crowd here from the women's building because Syracuse isn't going on a 4-0 run if they're not feeding off the juice that this crowd, despite a 1-8 record, is providing this team.
Coach Gaina Sharatnam was really hoping that the crowd would be on hand, as for a young team, that can be that extra jolt of energy, kind of like that block. Tyra Weems, haven't mentioned her a whole lot, but she was all over that potential attack attempt.
And we should, because she was quietly very good last night against Cornell. I mean, 6 foot, 5 kills and a block in Ithaca last night, and she plays with a lot of passion too.
The lefty Aaron Carpenter to serve. Back set. Things difficult for Lauren McCabe. Now a 50-50 ball jousted at the net. Jobert, fastball again into the second deck. Alyssa Jobert, she's been quiet so far this set, but adding on to her total, and she might be in for her second straight 10-plus kill appearance.
Alyssa Sampson knows how to dig those out, right? She leads the team in digs, but ultimately that ball was just too past her to get a good look at it.
Syracuse regains a 17-16 lead. Roll shot dug out by Schlichter. Another one, back-to-back for Jobert. Coming off of injury, Ian, it has been remarkable of how she has taken the role of Charlene Antonio as that primary offensive option. And yeah, it is up there with the best of them with the Big Ten and starting to slowly but surely morph as that top dog here in the ACC. And for Syracuse, those 3 teams coming in the 24-25 season. So it fits the timeline of this program and how they're trying to rebuild. Coming out of the break, 2-point lead for Syracuse. 5th-year libero, Alyssa Burt, back to serve. Miscommunication between Billingsley and Sampson, and we've seen some blunders now later in the second set by the Bears.
It's still that lack of communication and timing in the middle that's hurt Morgan State today, and they just haven't been dynamic and twitchy in that area of the court.
Alyssa Burt, 109 career matches, leads this program. Lots of experience. Long run for Carrick. Roll shot. Jobert stuck up, but it goes out anyway. Double digits for Jobert.
And that is 2 elements of blocking coming to play. Sure, can you get your hand on it, but where does the ball actually end up? And it actually deflected off the net, took a bad angle, and trickled out of play.
Have to make sure that in those blocking assignments, her hands are tilted back to the middle of the court. Hard serve by Burt. Long run by Sampson, and Morgan State gets it over. Set in the middle. Syracuse not able to take that chance as Morgan State was out of system, and there was so much room in the back row.
They were out of, as you said, alignment, and a player down on the floor didn't help either, and luckily, Sampson and crew get away scot-free.
Billingsley. Jobert hammers it right in the face of Justice Jackson. And this could be a 20-type kill day if she keeps up this production for Ariana Jobert.
The thing that impresses me the most is the efficiency, right? A hitting percentage of 50% right now.
Being fed a good amount, already 18 total attacks. Quick set. Harris Waddy gets it over. Running into it, but another block. Syracuse, you can hear that one clear as day. Wow.
The ball is starting to fly around the women's building, and we haven't seen this so far in this set from Syracuse, but when this team is firing on all cylinders, it's fun.
Now sustaining a solid lead, but they do give the ball right back after the service error by Mira Liedermuller. 4-point game. Alyssa Sampson, senior from Dayton, Ohio, leads the team in digs. Also is a pretty solid server. Liedermuller, back set. Somehow, some way, Jobert sends it over. One-hand dig by Liedermuller. Chance for Morgan State. Hammering it home and finding the hardwood. Carrick, a freshman setter, she can also hit it a little bit.
Really crafty, just on the line, threading it past the veteran in Burt as Otto runs rancid here from the women's building, and this building needs to get up, right? Back-to-back points from MSU, and the momentum is starting to shift.
Yeah, you can tell Otto is trying to get get some juice right now. He's trying to get this crowd back into it, as we saw in the first set. That's one way to do it. Ariana Jobert, she can go cross court, she can dot the corner. It doesn't matter. A special talent for the sophomore.
You know, she mentioned it before the game. Head coach Ortiz for MSU said, we've got a good look at the Syracuse squad on film, but one player who was not on that tape was Jobert.
That's a great point. Syracuse just needs 2 more points to try to fend off Morgan State. It's a 3-point game. Maya Carrick, freshman setter, just had a kill a moment ago. Syracuse has had difficulty closing out sets so far this season. They've been in points like this and came out empty-handed. Knuckleball by Carrick. Schlichter stuck up again. Morgan State somehow, some way, fighting and clawing to stay and haunting the Orange as they're trying to take a 2-0 lead. Coach Bake taking the timeout and now wants to side out. Have it just be a 1-point game. There's Schlichter. Coming around and hitting the face of Sampson. That will always get you hyped up, and that timeout looking even better now for Syracuse.
Harris Waddy and this crew really impressive off the break.
Now it's at set point. Harris Waddy can put it away. Hammering it. Still a chance. Brooking. Long play for Liedermuller, and it's over. Schlichter over the top. Carrick with the dive. Schlichter free ball. Morgan State's options. And it falls. That one looked out to the naked eye, and Syracuse can't believe it.
There's enough players like Sydney Waller, Layla Smith, Karzar Natska, and just even one of his key returners, and Raina Hughes, all out with injury right now. It's an uphill climb.
Makes things difficult, and we're ready to go for set 3, and Mira Liedermuller will be called on the 2-hit violation. Second straight set now where Morgan State gets first blood. Maya Carrick. Carrick, 2 kills and 4 tries. Let's have 5 assists as Morgan State does utilize 2 different setters, and that's that freshman type of feel, right? Where Zaria Harris-Waddy was in the wrong place at the wrong time, didn't allow Liedermuller to come over.
No, and this group has done a good job communicating today, and they have had slow starts to each of the 3 sets so far.
Serve receive looking well there, and Harris-Waddy registering the first point for the Cuse.
But some points just mean a little bit more than others, right? Because you have 2 sloppy sets, 2 sloppy points rather, and then your exciting freshman spikes it to the far side and puts it where nobody can dig it.
4 kills and 12 tries, does have a service ace. Morgan State trying to side out. That is out of bounds. Point Syracuse to tie it up at 2.
The Orange continuing to benefit off the service errors. These 2 teams have combined for 14 service errors, and you saw it on the graphic flash before the start of set number 3. Hitting percentages not necessarily high for either squad.
Waddy off the top of the tape. Still a chance for Morgan State, and it's Williams picking it up for the Bears. But back to your point about the errors, for Syracuse yesterday, they had 33 kills and 24 errors. Still better than what they've had all season long, but 12 of those errors came in the 3rd set alone, so they have to make sure that they're playing their best volleyball later in the match. Liedermuller, quick set. The push by Lauren McCabe. And what's so fascinating about her game, Ian, is she doesn't always have that hammer punch straight down. She can do a whole lot of different things.
And you have to, right? You're not going to dominate in this sport if you just have a cannon off your shoulder. You need to beat teams in multiple ways.
somehow bumping it over, but Syracuse had a free ball attempt. To Schlichter with the line shot and a long run going into the stand over there by the bench. Hope that she's okay, and it does appear that Alyssa Sampson is.
It's an unforgiving sport with obstacles both physically, mentally, and right in front of you. There's a reason why she leads the team in digs.
Also to note that Sampson has been the libero all day. They have made a change at that position. It's now Biko Holly as the team's libero in the third set. Somehow Williams sends it over. Lauren McCabe, oh wow, on the slide. That was pretty.
Just a second really too late. You talked about the substitution and the pivot at the libero spot, and between the libero that started this game and the libero that now takes over, neither can get to that ball with a potential diving effort.
Coach Dana Sharatnam just wanted some clarification. Now the whistle will be blown for Veronica Searson. Searson gives it right back.
You talked about those service errors that plagued Syracuse against Iowa yesterday. It's a battle against the mind because you're tired, right? It's a team without a lot of depth. Can you beat that feeling and continue to stay locked in?
Jada Williams with the 12-6 curveball right there. Williams with the set. Tip off the block. Syracuse pushed over. Burt with the dig. Schlichter. Long volley. Another tip and a net violation called on Lauren McCabe.
That's a difficult one because Alyssa Burt had a really good individual effort there. She's now up to double-digit digs on the game, but she's not up there on the front line. She can't control everything.
Williams, another serve intended for Schlichter. Lauren McCabe! Talk about halting a run.
Talk about some revenge. No violation there. All clean and almighty. Just uncorked everything she had as she made her way towards the near side and sent it straight down the middle.
For Lauren McCabe, now 5 kills in 12 attempts, hitting .250. She's been very efficient as of late. And let's add another.
She's all smiles because, again, she got it done at Seattle, but here in Syracuse, an ACC team about to play very good top 10 squads like Louisville next week. They need more of that, Lauren McCabe.
Playing at their peak, and that's what Coach Dana Sharatnam said was needed before the beginning of ACC play. Flat-footed, but still over by Jobert. Another cross-court approach, and Billingsley hasn't really looked like her normal self so far today, Ian.
No, and I don't want to say she's maybe relying on the highs and lows of this game, but when this team has done well, she has done well. She's fed off the energy. She's executing. But when her team's been in a bit of a lull and the energy is down, her technique has kind of suffered as well.
She had 6 kills very early on in the first set, and she's stationary at 7 for the game. Mueller with the trickery. Mueller, far side, Jobert, and a point for Syracuse, looking to see if there was a potential tip, and there was not.
I would call a timeout if I were Morgan State right now, because even though it's just a 2-point battle here in the third set, it just feels like the energy is off.
Lauren McCabe again on the slide. She is 3 for 3 in the third set. Continuing to feed her, the middle blocker coming around, and Morgan State can't do anything about it.
Mueller over her head with the beautiful set. Really identical to the previous kill from McCabe in terms of a windup in the launch.
But a nice contributing pass to Jobert with McCabe racking him up, and there's the fastball. I don't know, maybe Billingsley hurt us because that was what we anticipate from her more often than not.
You know, she's going to routinely hover around the double-digit kill mark on a nightly basis. with her efforts today, now has over 100 on the year for Morgan State.
Another block in the middle. Harris Waddy stuck up by Justice Jackson, who also came out of the gates raring hot, so maybe that's what she needed.
This Morgan State team has proved they don't go away. Multiple games this year that have gone 4 or 5 sets.
Mueller over to Joe Bear, hammering it through. Now on the Syracuse side of the net. Whole lot going on. Out by Schlichter. Punch shot, and it looked like it was tipped by Billingsley, and it would have went out anyway. Costly break there for Morgan State.
Joe Bear catches a bit of a break. See if it tips her fingers here on the second look. It does seem like the trajectory of the ball was altered a bit.
Yeah. The new libero coming into the game, Pico Holly, with a reception error, and it results in a service ace for Mira Liedermuller.
Syracuse is feeling good right now. The bench energy is exciting too.
Liedermuller again. You knew where she wanted to serve that one. Side, dug out. What a great play by Alyssa Burke. Point could mean a whole lot for either side, and it's gonna be for Syracuse as Alyssa Joubert. That is her bread and butter, hammering it through the double block in another career performance.
But Syracuse wouldn't get there if she didn't send it over her back near the scoring table. 14 kills for Joubert.
It's a 4-point lead for Syracuse. We'll step aside and return on ACC Network.
90s, one of Jim Boeheim's favorites, worked his way up the AAU circuit to earn a really awesome opportunity and a awesome time for a Syracuse men's basketball team on the rise.
It's gonna be a whole lot of fun this upcoming season, but we're focused on what's going on this hardwood here at the women's building. Syracuse is trying to have their second victory of the season, a 1-8 record as you see in the bottom of their screen, and what a great boost this would be here today if they could defeat Morgan State entering ACC play.
They catch a break there. Service error as Morgan State approaching double-digit service errors on the game.
Something that we haven't seen a whole lot from them. A pretty good serving team overall, 86 on the year, averaging 1.9 per set. Here's Melina Brooking. Brooking with the dig. Upset by Liedermuller. Over the head, Schlichter. Her first kill in set number 3.
We haven't said her name in a while, although she continues to fly around the ball in the court, playing a do-it-all role for Syracuse as a natural libero. They need more of that if they want to pull away, already up by 5.
Mira Liedermuller now with 30 assists. Dug out by Brooking. That gets the crowd jazzed up. Hard, awkward angle up by our up referee. No chance to send it over. So Syracuse now continuing to grow their lead.
Fernandez just took an awkward angle as that ball fell towards the near antenna, almost parallel with the net, and she couldn't send it over.
Brooking still on the service line from Lowell, Maryland. So she knows a whole lot about Morgan State. Point for Syracuse is that potential kill attempt by Fernandez never got over.
She was the player that we highlighted headed into this third set, and now back-to-back points in which her execution hasn't been at 100%.
We saw in the second set a 4-0 run really sparked Syracuse in that victory, and now make it a 5-0 scoring run after the second service ace for Brooking.
Morgan State needs a timeout, a 5-0 run, an 8-point deficit, and just an error you simply cannot afford, down 2-0 late in the third set.
And I think a lot of this boils down to some of those early contests to be back home, because they get a taste of it for 2 games and then it's back all across the country.
For a crew that doesn't really know what that college travel life is like just yet, because there's so many new pieces and even players transferring from JUCOs and smaller schools they're about to understand that this travel is rigorous.
And also for the recovery, it's more difficult to recover on the road for your preparation. 50-50 balls, here's in. That's an unfortunate error for the 6'3" freshman, just trying to hammer that over, almost got a little too cute with it to go right on the line.
And in moments like these, where you have the lead, you got to fall back on your fundamentals and maybe play it a little safe.
The serve by Maya Carrick. Liedermuller over to her German counterpart, and that is a duo that Syracuse fans are going to get real accustomed to seeing over the next 4 years.
Two foundational pieces that are seeing the court because of injuries right now, but they have the talent. Just a question of, are they ready when the lights shine the brightest? And right there, they give you a bit of an answer. Largest
lead of the day for Syracuse. And it's going to continue to grow. Second service ace for Harris Waddy.
Once again, you said it, and you said it right. Going after Holly, the new libero, it's just a little too easy right now for Syracuse.
Harris Waddy, leader on this team and service aces. She'll have to wait to add to her total as Morgan State makes it an 8-point game again.
Jobert not on the floor for the Orange. A comfortable lead, but can they get some offense with her off the floor?
Want to make sure that they can try to side out here and get her back into rotation, as well as Harris Waddy. Schlichter in the back row. Now she's being set. Tip off the block. Lauren McCabe almost had a chance to send it back. Searson hammering it through. And it's the contributing cast, everybody getting involved right now for the Orange. And it's one of the first times we've seen that all season long.
100%, a total team effort. Searson, a name we haven't called much today, decides to get involved.
Now she's back to serve. Was dancing on the net, and Billingsley made sure that there was no doubt that now Morgan State can side out and get the ball back.
Well, there's Billingsley continuing to show up when her team needs her. Still down 8.
Jada Williams. Lauren McCabe on the slide. Still life for Morgan State. Two-hand push. It's going to be a point automatically, and it didn't appear that there was a 2-hit violation there, so I'm kind of surprised that was the ruling.
It seems like it's on Killingsley. Definitely occurred on the near side of a hardwood, and not what the doctor ordered for MSU in a sloppy third set.
Syracuse really have a point of emphasis in the third set to not waste any time. Liedermuller to Jobert. Jobert looking for a tip, and they don't get it.
Well, she comes right off the bench in rotation, guns blazing, trying to provide a dagger late in this game, and maybe a little too amped up to add on to her unreal kill total, which is skyrocketed to 15 today.
After running out of gas last night in the third set against the Iowa Hawkeyes, a completely different Syracuse Orange team that we're seeing right now as Lauren McCabe adds to her kills total.
And that was Sampson, the natural libero, who got there first, and her reaction time was good, but the placement was even better for McCabe.
3 points left for Syracuse to try to get the 3-0 sweep. Now here's number 3, Alyssa Burke. The top, maybe some women's building luck for the Orange. Ball don't lie, Morgan State. That ball, I don't know if it, most cases, is going to go over on the serve initially.
Bit of luck, right? But for a team that is in search of its second win, they'll take every opportunity they can get. Great block on the far side from the Bears.
The ball is in the hands of Billingsley. Jobert, roll shot, barely out. So clinging on to whatever life Morgan State has left and trying to make sure that this is not the 9th time this season that they have been swept in straight sets.
Syracuse, meanwhile, trying to pick up its second win of the season. Both of them would be in straight sets.
That one quick by Harris Waddy, and out of nowhere, now we have Justice Jackson getting back into her role.
Morgan State's going to have to continue to find ways to get her the ball offensively. There, she scores her team a point. Defensively, it gives this Bears team a chance to provide a late run. She's a player's coach, was a libero at Binghamton in the central New York area, graduated in 2014, so she is somebody who understands what it's like to be out there in these situations and not too far removed from playing herself.
Yeah. A young program that is on the right track in rebuilding this to be a MEAC powerhouse. Coming out of the break, Jo Bear. Didn't have a lot on it, doesn't matter. Siding out for Syracuse when they really needed it the most.
Off the Morgan State timeout at Syracuse. That gets the point, and ultimately, if you didn't think this third set was in control, the Orange clearly in front.
You're a leader, Mueller. Had an ace earlier. Set near side, Fernandez stuck up in the middle. Trying it again, overpowering leader Mueller, and Morgan State, it is commendable what they're doing right now in making sure that Syracuse has to work for it.
Ultimately, it looks like they'll leave this Syracuse-Cornell Invitational 0-2 and swept in both games, but that does not tell the full story of what the Bears have done in Central New York. That first set yesterday against Cornell was really impressive.
34-32 loss. That set the tone, and hammering that one into the net, Jordan Page, and we are officially at match point. Match point for Syracuse after being on a losing streak, trying to get their second victory of the campaign in front of their home crowd. It's Melina Brooking. We'll have to wait on it as Brooking with the service error.
Double-digit service errors for Syracuse. Most likely going to be a win if they can hold on, but that's something you have to take away.
Now in the hands of Maya Carrick. On the Bears side, Brooking plays it. Schlichter, stuck up again. Syracuse, they have to work for it right now. Even though that they still have a healthy lead, it's not easy coming.
No, and Schlichter's doing everything that she can, but sends it straight to a fellow freshman who's just got more size than she does.
5-point lead for Syracuse. Still trying to put this match away. Roll shot. Up in the air. There's Weems. Fernandez, and it's out. And Syracuse with a 3-set sweep after being swept last night. And you have to be so proud if you're a fan of the Orange with that response.
Second win